transmit Buddha Dharma teaching. Wholeheartedly, we pay homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming, to Master Satya Tsang, to the 16 Dharma King Karmapa and Master Dubdan Dorje. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to Amogapasa Kuan Yin. Simu, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, temple directors, and all disciples present here and over the internet, and our guest of honor today from the North Coordination Council of and from TECO, the Secretary General Liao and Mrs. Liao, Dharma Sister Judy, the Chief Secretary of Taiwan Government, Mr. Tsang Pei-Fu, from Academia Sinica, the Academician Professor Zhu Si-yi and Mrs. Zhu, from the KMT Party of Kaohsiung City, the Vice Chair Xu Hui's representative, from the DPP Party of Tainan City, the Chair's Cai Wang-Quan's representative, and the group of professors of Tributa School, Doctor in Education, Dr. Ye, and Dr. Wang Li, Dr. Wang Yaozun, Dr. Lin Meng-Yen, Professor Mai Yi-Huang, Professor Wang Jingxian, and Dr. Hong Xin-Yi, Dr. Lin Xiuju, Dr. Li Yilun, Dr. Cai Guoyi, Dr. Gu Haoxiang, Professor Lin Jun'an, and Dr. Liang Caohuan, medical doctor. From the Guangming Chinese Medicine Clinic, Medical Clinic, Dr. Tsang. Attorney to the Tributa Foundation, Mr. Law. And Attorney to the Tributa Foundation, Ms. Huang. Mr. and Mrs. Zhu. From Pacific International Travel Services, Mr. Xiao. From Shanghai, Jinsa Nanometer Light Science Company, Mr. President Lin. From the U.S., Elizabeth Pearl Cosmetics, the President Liao. From the Worldwide Lotus Light Charitable Society, Master Tsang. And from the Lotus Light Charitable Society of Taiwan, the President Wu Guandu. Producers for the Guinea Diansang Xinten of CTI TV Taiwan, Ms. Rebecca Su. For the TV programs Platform Sutra and Development Stages of Dantayana, the producers Master Lian Yue and the host Dharma Sister Pei Jun. And one more person, that's our special guest, an artist, Mr. Gao Lingfeng. He had been deceased recently. Could be scary. He came for Bardo deliverance, and Bardo delivered him. So today we had the Homa, fire offering ceremony of the Vajra of equal deliverance, which is also Amogapasa Kuan Yin. And the meaning of this equal deliverance is that it would be delivered to the Pure Land equally, and equally bestowing good fortune, equally eliminating karma, and equally increasing our wisdom. Anyone who had wishes, who had prayers or requests would be fulfilled according to your wishes. That's why his name is non-empty. Amoga means non-empty. And I was talking about Mr. Gao Ling Feng. Someone called on him, so he came. And when he came, he was wearing the outfit that he usually wore when he was singing, when he was performing. He had a lot of costume when he was performing. I saw him clearly, but he did not comb his hair, so his hair was not quite tidy. What's left strong impression is his chin. When he came here to the altar, I saw his chin that was rather pointed and skinny. So I asked him to go to the Homa fire and to burn away all his karma with the Homa fire. And then asked him to follow the Bodhisattva, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, to be guided, to be reborn into the Pure Land. So here we are very grateful to the entertainer, Gao Ling Feng, and he's also a special guest that attended our ceremony, and we wish him to be reborn into the very happy Western Buddha country. So good afternoon everyone, how do you do? Good afternoon, how do you do? So in Taiwanese, Mandarin, Indonesian, Malay, Cantonese, Japanese, English, Spanish, Thai, Korean.
Thank you for coming. Next week, see you soon.
So the Vajra name for Amogapasa Kuan Yin is the Vajra of equal deliverance. So it's a great bodhisattva who would deliver spirits to the Pure Land equally. He has 3 faces and 4 arms, the 3 faces to the front and left and right. And each face has 3 eyes, 4 arms. 1 arm is holding chanting beads. By calling on his name, then you would be delivered to the Pure Land. And the other hand is holding lotus, is to transform calamities and for purity, purification. And 1 hand is holding the nectar vase, and with the nectar you purify your karma. Whether you're born in the hell, hungry ghost, or animal realm, you would be able to be delivered. And with the lasso, 1 hand is holding lasso that can fulfill all wishes and can also be guided to the Pure Land. So even if you don't want to go there, you could be tied, bound by the rope and be delivered to the Pure Land. I've made this statement before. If my girlfriend is not in the Western paradise, I will not go there. But if Amogapasa Kuan Yin is delivering me there, it would be impossible, because she would tie you up with the lasso and you have to go there. So his look is really dignified. And the mantra, as you have heard before, there are many mantras that's very important. Of Amogapasa, there are mantras for great offering, and also the radiance true mantra or true words. And above him is the Amoga Siddhi Buddha. So this Kuan Yin is very important. So today, very interesting. Typically, for Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, there weren't that many people that became primary supplicants. But for this Kuan Yin, there were lots of people today that became primary supplicants, because he is Amuga, non-empty. Because whatever you wish for, you would return non-empty-handed. So that's the brief introduction to Amogapasa Kuan Yin. And just now, he has lots of family and relatives or assembly that came here today, including Amoga Siddhi Buddha Tathagata. So the entertainer Gao Ling Feng, he was really responsive. He knew to come here today to receive the deliverance of Amogapasa Kuan Yin. Because I consulted spiritually that Gao Ling Feng's rebirth would be in the human world as a human being and as a woman. And to repay all the depth that he had as a man, and he had to repay that completely, so he became a beautiful woman. He would have become a beautiful woman in his next life. And to have lots of boyfriends and to repay all his debts. And now he doesn't have to repay. He was very smart to come here today, attending this ceremony. and to be invoked and entered into the Homa fire, purified all his karma, and in a moment, through the Vajra of equal deliverance, Amugapasa Kuan Yin, he was delivered to the Western paradise. And today I want to especially introduce a person, which is the Ambassador Liao Tongzhou, Secretary General or Ambassador Liao Tongzhou, right? He was in Seattle as the ambassador for the TECO there in Seattle. So he was in Seattle and he made connection with us, and not long after he went to Houston in the TECO there. So because he had become an ambassador before, that's why we call him an ambassador. So with the countries that we have political relation, then he would be called an ambassador. Otherwise, he would be called the rep for TECO. And they have this affinity to marry Dharma sister Judy. Although he had a connection with us, but he did not practice in Seattle. But when he went to Houston, and then he started to practice, and then he returned to Taiwan to become the Secretary General of the North America Coordination Council, and now he has time, and so he practiced every single day. So he's very diligent in his practice, and so he has fruition in his non-leaking practice. Since he returned to Taiwan, it had been 10 months. Only 10 months. And he practiced every single day, diligently. And he also practiced the 9-cycle Buddha breathing, the treasure vase energy yoga. And he had received the phenomena of the earth, which is very strong, like the mountain. So every time he practiced, he became very strong, like the mountain. He is as strong as a young man. So he practiced 9-cycle Buddha breathing, the treasure vase energy yoga. So he does 9-cycle Buddha breathing 2 times, and then his whole body become very strong. So the attainment of the earth would be as strong as the mountain. And there would be a Dharma flow that enters into his body that would make him as strong as the mountain. And also his thought is also as strong, and he could be in total concentration. And when the Ambassador Liao was totally focused in his meditation, he was sitting in the boundless infinite space On his brow, from his brow chakra, he emits a blue, a precious blue light, very beautiful and dignified. So he would be able to see light. How come he would be able to see light? When he was abiding in the boundless infinity and with no thoughts whatsoever, which means the purity of the body, speech and mind, the radiance would be generated naturally. And he is in total concentration and in boundlessness. At this time, light would appear. Sometimes it's a beautiful yellow light, sometimes a deep blue light, beautiful light. So sometimes he is able to see it's like a blue germ light. And sometimes when he has thought, it is also infinity, but when it's not very stable or concentrated, then there would be an impure light. So he has a fruition in non-leaking, and is also able to see lights, especially the blue light, which is very beautiful. And this is a very incredible achievement. Just in 10 months, he is able to see a blue light, and his body can be strong, and his body is getting better and better. It's better than before. I was 16, now he became 17. So I'm 16, you're 17. So after he got to know us, he started to recite mantras, only mantras without practicing, but that's for 3 years, chanting mantra for 3 years. And then after returning to Taiwan, he has more time. So he practiced for about 10 months. And he personally experienced that true Buddha Tantric Dharma is real and no nonsense. So they are real phenomena. If you truly practice according to the practice procedure, you would gain spiritual responses. So I heard him tell his experience, and I knew that his experience is real. So he had experience in the non-leaking and also the robustness of the earth, and also seeing the royal blue light. So every time after practice he would do the 9-cycle Buddha breathing, and then the treasuries energy yoga, and then meditation, the Zen meditation. That's excellent. So Ambassador Liao give us a witness about how great to be the authentic Dharma is.
今天再稍微跟大家讲一下这个。
So today I will continue to talk about the fifth instruction for the Great Perfection Dharma. We've talked a lot about afflictions, and as we all know, there are lots of afflictions around, like sufferings for separating from the loved ones, sufferings to be together with those you dislike, like the sufferings to be separated from your loved ones. As we know, that's suffering. And the things that you despise, they're always around you, in front of you, and you always see that face. And then the third one is not getting what you ask for. But you know, I'm telling you, even if you get what you want, you would also be afflicted. Why? Because you would be afraid that you would lose it. Of course, you would worry. You would be troubled. So there are lots of troubles, of afflictions. On this Dharma seed, I have talked about many of this. Like last week, I talked about the sound of my heart. Actually, that was just drama. It's just like playing a role. You know, because after I got off this Dharma teaching seat, someone asked, is Grandmaster breaking up? But for romantic love, they come and go. You just take them lightly and it's no big deal. So what's the so-called not getting what you want is when you get it, you're also afraid to lose it. So if it is a little bit further away, then you started to be bothered. And when you're closer, then you're happy. So when you don't get what you want, what you wish for, actually, what can you have in this world? So you need to look through it. It is easy to eliminate afflictions. There are three methods, three ways. In the methods of the small vehicle, Hinayana, because great completion include the Hinayana too, which is Ravagahood, is to renunciate, to be apart from the world. Then you leave behind the world. Don't look at the buildings and the cars, or the woman or the man. Just go deep into the mountains. Go to a place where you don't see other people. And you stay deep in the mountains. And all you see is the temples, Buddha, Bodhisattvas, and the forests and the woods. When you don't see them, then you can eliminate your afflictions. So you stay deep in the mountains for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and you stay there. You never leave the mountains. So you stayed in the old temples deep in the mountains, and you leave behind the busy life, the world. Then you cut off your afflictions. So So you leave behind the environment, your surrounding. So when you see people, or like when you see the car, say you drive a Honda Civic, and other people is driving Rolls-Royce or Bentley or the sports car Lamborghini or Lotus, or Mitsubishi Spider sports car, and they drive really cool, and I'm driving a Honda, and the car is long and black, Mercedes-Benz. In Europe, it's taxi. The taxis are Mercedes-Benz, but here they're considered pretty good. 3 Bs. One is Bentley, high-class cars like Ferrari, the sports car. You see other people drive such cars, and the reality hits on you, and you would be really sad. So you have a lot of this comparison, and if you don't see any of those and you don't hear any of those, and gradually your mind would be affected, but you don't think about them, and you stay deep into the mountains and you don't get in touch with any of them. That's a method of the small vehicle, Hinayana. So you cut yourself off from all this. You never come down from the mountains. Like our attorney, advisor to the Tugura Foundation. Who else? Wang Yiqing and Zhou Ruoliang and Zhou Zhongshan, they all live in the cities. But there's also a foreign diplomat, Mr. Zhuo Zhongzhen. He never showed up. A lot of his friends are sick upon him, and Zhou Zhongshan told them that my brother now sick deep in the mountains. The only way he showed up is then when he is asking for donations to build a temple, and then they all run away. So you're looking for Zhou Zhongzhen? Now he is building a temple and he is soliciting for contributions. Actually, he is hiding deep in the mountains. He don't see or hear anything, so he's not affected. The only thing he sees is Grandmaster's Dharma teaching through the internet. So that's the method he used. And he cut off his connections with all his friends. And he lived in solitary. So this is the Hinayana method to cut off the afflictions. And the second method is the Mahayana's method, is through transformation. So what is this transformation? So use the bodhicitta of the Mahayana to transform. You know, there are many, many methods to resolve your afflictions. You don't compare to the better ones, but you compare to the worst ones. If you're driving a Honda Civic and you look to the side and other people is riding a bicycle, so this is good. I'm driving Honda Civic. Hey, other people's riding on a motorcycle, and that's good. You're very happy. So you don't look up, but you look down, and that's transformation. Often you need to use your mastery of transformation. When you see someone is handicapped, you should be very happy for yourself, because you are not handicapped. But if you see the sick, you would be happy. No, you shouldn't be happy, but you should be feel fortunate that you're not sick. So you should continually to transform. When you see anything, then you transform your own mind. And then I have also taught you about the method of exchanging place with others. When you see your karmic debtor in front of you, you can transform too. That this person also has Buddha nature. When you see someone that you despise, that this may be affinity from the past lives. That's why you have this antipathy or love. You would become afflicted, whether with love or hatred. So whether with love or hatred, you would be afflicted. So if you transform it and understand it to be karma from the past lives, that with the affinity, you would be together. Without the affinity, they all separated. With the small puff of breeze, the bird would fly away. That's the method for transformation. Without affinity, we would be separated. There is no need to love or to hate. That's called transformation. So exchanging place with others would generate more compassion. So equanimity to compassion, or equanimity for equality. So with exchanging places, you would generate equality and compassion. Then you would be able to embrace your love and your hatred, both of them. That's the second method. That's the method of the greater vehicle. So from Mahayana methods, these are the two most important methods. So you need to resolve your afflictions. For Mahayana, you use transformation, and Hinayana, you cut off directly. And in Vajrayana, you use the affliction as a function to see through it. So that in Great Perfection Dharma, you need to see through the afflictions as being of empty nature. So we learn from Bodhidharma. Someone told Grandmaster, I have lots of afflictions. Oh, that's good. So show me your afflictions to Grandmaster. But how can you show your afflictions for Grandmaster, to Grandmaster? So you cannot show it. You cannot show them. Then because you cannot take it out and show them to Grandmaster, then it's all resolved. And then when they're about to leave, hey, don't forget the red pocket. because I have resolved your afflictions, because the afflictions were intrinsically empty. So you treat the afflictions as a function. How do you use the afflictions? You need to see the afflictions clearly as being of empty nature, that it has no intrinsic reality. There is everything is being resolved. There's no need to be afflicted, because the affliction is no use. Whatever that you need to receive or experience, then you should just go through them, but they were originally intrinsically empty. So most importantly in the Great Perfection Dharma is you see through that the afflictions is empty, that the empty nature is the true reality of afflictions. When you see this clearly, you will not be afflicted anymore. And so you treat the afflictions as just functions to some. So that's the third method, the Vajrayana method, to resolve affliction. There's no need to cut off the afflictions, no need to transform the afflictions, but directly you see through the afflictions, that the afflictions were originally empty, and then you develop that further to your whole life. Like Ambassador Liao earlier, that he could emit the royal blue light. That means he had a realm of enlightenment, which means that the body is empty, the speech is empty, the thought is empty, the mind is empty. Then you would be able to see light. And when you see light, that you would be really happy, your body and mind would be really happy. So the power generated this way can be carried further, so that you would break through all your afflictions, and then you don't need to be afflicted anymore. That means you treat the afflictions as a function. So this is the fifth instruction in Great Perfection Dharma. That's very important. The three methods to resolve your afflictions, whichever method you can choose, they're all okay. In Japan, there is Mr. Jumi, and he had cut off everything, and he had become a saint, a sage, and he was flying in space. And he saw a Japanese girl, Musume, right? Japanese, Musume. So Professor Ye? He saw a girl washing clothes on the river and wearing a loose kimono. And when the sage saw her from the space, he saw the two big and beautiful breasts. So he fell down when he was flying in space. So Mr. Chumi was really bothered. How come he didn't pass this test? And he also saw a naked girl. And maybe it's like artists painting a nude girl. And he continually looking at that nude girl, and his heart was boom, 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 boom. It was at first boom, 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 and then later on becomes slower and boom, boom, and then later on. And then return to normal. So he continued gazing at the nude girl until he returned to completely normal. So when he was flying in space later on, even when he saw those, he didn't fall down anymore, because he's after seeing enough of them, he doesn't have any feeling about it anymore. And then you would know that what he loved was actually intrinsically empty. So hatred and despise, they're also empty. Afflictions were also completely empty. So I'm not telling you to hug a beautiful girl and gazing at her. For Grandmaster, his heart is as serene as calm water. Whatever Grandmaster sees, you still have a very cool and calm mind. Didn't I told this joke before? The wife asked the husband, "We've been married for so many years, and before marriage, when we were dating, you always said that your heart always beat very hard, but do you still have your deer bumping all over now?" But the husband replied, "Oh, the deer, which is the heart, has been dead a long time." Grandmaster too is like this now. The deer has been dead long ago. But if the deer is not dead, he would still run all over. So let me tell a few jokes, because the fifth instructions have been taught. Afflictions is like this. A rich man with a billionaire was really sick and bedridden, so he must be really sick. So this rich man told the doctor, "So if I'm cured, I would donate $500,000 to your clinic." And the doctor was very pleased and tried his best. And a few days later, the rich man was cured. And the doctor was very happy. "And I want to talk about your donation to my new clinic." So the billionaire was very surprised. "Did I say that?" And the doctor said, "Yes, you told me yourself." And the billionaire said, "I must have been really sick, because I must have talked in my dreams." So the billionaire has billions of dollars, and yet he's still so stingy. He's still afflicted. John told David, "Can you keep a secret from me? Can you do me a favor?" And David said, "Of course." And John said, "I'm a little bit tight these days. Can you loan me some money?" And David said, "Don't worry. I would treat it as if I didn't hear you." So those who borrow money has some affliction, and those who are asked to loan money also have affliction. So friend asked his old friend, how come you're still not married? And the friend replied, you cannot clap with one hand. So is there use for me to and then later on he got married, so how do you feel? And how do you feel about it? And the neighbor replied before he could say anything, we hear the clapping every day. Clappings. So marriage is suffering. You may not know. It's better to be lovers. Never ever get married. But there are also lots of benefits to be married. There are some good and bad parts. Should be like that. A teacher is teaching history of the Qing dynasty, and the student is falling asleep. And the teacher asks, who is the greatest enemy to Qing? It's the play of sound in Chinese. The Qing dynasty, it sounds like a dragonfly. So the student replied, it's a frog. Yeah. So the teacher could be afflicted. They could have some troubles too. So the teacher is writing on the blackboard, and there's a student that's falling asleep and his mouth is open. So the teacher break a piece of the chalk and throw it into the mouth of the student. So even the teacher sometimes gets afflicted. So in a basket of apples, there may be a few rotten ones. You think that your lineage root guru would not be afflicted? You never know. Among these 5 million disciples, I don't know how many of them are rotten. Although this is affliction, and even the Dharma masters would also have afflictions. Some people that followed you before, now they totally break away from you completely. Every master would have such experience sometimes. So you need to find a way to cut off this affliction. So if you think that in a basket of apples there would be a few rotten ones, then you would be at peace. So even when there are a few rotten disciples, that's normal. How could there be completely good and fine apples in a basket? You always ask, is the watermelon sweet? When you're taking pictures in Chinese, you ask that. But even watermelon, there are also some that's not sweet. It's a normal phenomenon. So there's some rotten disciples, rotten masters, rotten reference. That's normal. How could you ask them not to rot because they're rotten by themselves? Because they're the rotten ones. Of course, there's some good ones too. And you treat them all very normally. So there's some people that wanted to make you upset. You know, I rot now, so I want to rot all the way. Even the root. So I don't just want to abandon Buddha school. I want to slander you and defame you. Actually, that's very normal. You just treat it normally. That's how it is. And there might be some worms too, right? So don't need to be bothered by it. Don't need to be afflicted over it. Don't need to suffer from it. Because you can rot. So you use the afflictions. That's the concept. Because you have seen through the afflictions and you know how to transform them. So good friends together and then become bad. Then you think that's affinity. It's a play of word of Chinese. Affinity, it can sound like the poo of the apes. You think good friends would stay forever? That's how you think? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. So you just take them lightly. No big deal. Like in America, when they say, they would form this gesture. Oh well. That's a gesture that Americans often make. And Simu said the English is so what? It's talking about frog. A mom asked the son to kiss the nanny, and the son said, no way. So what's wrong with kissing her? And the kid said, no, because yesterday dad was trying to kiss her and was slapped. So having a nanny, could be troublesome. There are lots of things happening like this. So you should see through them, even when you're being slapped. So the kid have seen through it. This is the joke given by Sim. A couple wanted to have a son, and the first kid was a daughter. And named the daughter as Judy, which also means like having a brother. And then they have the second kid, and it's still a daughter. And then they name her get another. And then the third one is also a daughter again, and then was calling the daughter like call another daughter a brother, and then the fourth one is a daughter again, and finally they call it the last call upon a brother. And the fifth one, they don't have another kid. That's the joke given by Sun. So having children is also an affliction. Whether you have children or not having children, they are afflictions. If you only have daughters, or if you have all sons, they're all afflictions. Right? So in this world, they're full of afflictions. So there were three ways. One is to completely cut them off. As long as it's affliction, you cut them off immediately. The second method, transformation. You use your bodhicitta to transform all your afflictions. The third way, you treat the afflictions to be empty nature. The afflictions are empty-natured because that's how it is. They were not afflictions originally, only your mind, created by the mind, and then you use the afflictions. That would be most accurate.